Hi there! Welcome to the Gardens and Graveyards channel. Today we're hanging out in the studio. It's the last part of January, and even though we have blue skies and a beautiful day outside, it is quite chilly. So as much as I really want to be outside, it's just too uncomfortable to be out there. I know it's not snowing, it's not negative degrees, it's not the Arctic blast or anything. It was 38 this afternoon when I had pulled into my driveway, but the wind chill makes it, like maybe 35. Still too cold to be outside for me, and so I don't go out there if I don't have to. But I do want to get my hands dirty and do a little bit of gardening. And this poor Swiss cheese plant really wants to be transplanted. So one is looking a little wilted because I haven't watered her in a week. And it's time to water her. Like 2 days behind on watering her anyways. So I need to get her out of this pot and put in some fresh soil. And two, because she's just way too big for the plant. For the pot, it's just time for the transplant. We picked this up at Home Depot about a month ago. So she's been in quarantine to make sure that she doesn't have any bugs that she's going to transfer to my other plants. And now it's just time to get her transplanted. So this is a Swiss cheese plant. This is a Philodendron, not a Monstera. And we can tell the difference because the shape of the Philodendron leaf is more triangular in shape opposed to heart shaped. So I have a Monstera right here. You can see she has a much more of a heart shape. You will notice that it does have some holes in it, and like this one down here has like an actual hole, but you could see where there's just a tiny membrane still hanging on to the leaf margin here. Eventually that will break off and it will just be completely split, and so there'll just be like little slats as the tree, or as the Monstera grows. It starts off with whole leaves with no holes in them, and then they start splitting. And first there's a hole, and then it just hangs on for a little while, and eventually that too will split off, and it'll just be totally split. This is a Swiss cheese plant, and it will not, these holes won't get all the way to the leaf margin. It'll just have all these little holes, and it'll create more and more and more holes, but basically that's all it does. And then it has that different shape. The Philodendron has like what they consider a flame shape of a leaf, and that plays into feng shui and the light of life, and philodendrons are considered lucky and healthy, promoting health in the home and bringing the vitality and life to the human spirit. So that's how I kind of remember the philodendron, is got this flame leaf opposed to the Monstera. She's gonna go into this terracotta pot. I couldn't find a saucer the right size. They were either way too big or way too small. So I picked up a plastic one for now. That's fine. What I am going to do is I'm going to put a coffee filter in the hole in the bottom to help catch any soil and it doesn't just all wash away. So coffee filter, just going to set it down there. If you have like a regular coffee filter with the flat bottom, you could just set it as a cup. But I have one of those cones. My coffee filters are cones. So I just leave it flat and cover up the bottom. You could use a piece of like a paper towel too, or you could use a small piece of landscape fabric cloth if that is what you have on hand. Doesn't really matter. So because this is a house plant and I want it to have a lot of good drainage, especially since our home stays a little damp, it stays on the humid side of things because we are in Oregon on the Central Oregon coast. Things tend to mold and mildew, so we want to make sure that there's lots of fast draining components in my soil and nothing's just like really hanging on to that water. It might mean that I have to water more often, but I'd rather water more often than to create an environment where gnats might want to live or there's any kind of mildew issues happening. I don't want any of that. So I'd rather water more often. And honestly, I rarely water more than once a week year round. Okay. So I'm going to set this off to the side. I'm going to make up a soil mixture. So this is just regular potting mix, indoor, outdoor potting soil. It's by G&B Organics. It's a giant bag, so I'm not going to lift it up to show you. Sure I have plenty. And then I'm going to add in a little bit of peat moss just because I have it on hand. If you remember, I did a moss poll because I'd never done one before. I'm not a big fan of peat moss and it's not sustainable, so I don't typically buy it, but since I have it on hand, I am going to use it because no reason to let it go to waste. Okay, and then the other piece that I'm going to use is perlite. And this is just going to help improve the drainage. I don't have an exact recipe. I kind of just go by feel and doing it for so many years. I mean, that was, I think it was four of those salsa containers, probably like 8 cups of soil to 3 handfuls of peat moss and maybe 2 cups of perlite. And then I'll mix it up and see how I like what it looks like. So I'll mix that up and sort of see what that looks like for me. And then once I've got the mixture down, I will pre-moisten it because it's just easier on the roots of the plants if the soil's already a little bit moist, and ensure that there's plenty of water in there for her. Okay. I feel like I could use just a bit more peat moss or a bit more perlite. Right. All right, so that looks pretty good to me. You could see all the little white speckles in there. That is all peat moss. So I'm happy with that. I'm gonna pre-moisten it. Just mix it up a little bit, make sure everything's moist. It doesn't need to be wringing wet. And we'll water the plant in after we've planted it anyway, so just making sure. Okay. All right, so then I'm just gonna put soil in here. making sure there's enough room for the soil that the plant's in. Right. So, trade spots here. All right, so I'm going to take off this little plastic container or plastic hangers on the sides. Right here, they just pop off just like that, nice and easy. And I'm going to take this out of the container. And it's not terrible. There's a little tiny bit of circling, but not bad. So I'm just gonna gently pull the roots down. I'm not tearing the roots. I'm not breaking them. I'm just gently teasing them out so that they know they don't have to grow in a circle anymore. Just like that. And then just going to take some of this off the top, make sure it's... I like to take a little bit off the crown when I purchase the plant, and then I will put a tiny bit of fresh soil right on top. I just feel like it gives the plant a little extra nutrition, and you do it that way. And it gives me an opportunity to kind of see like what's going on. Philodendrons are kind of odd. Like you could see this one. Let's see if I turn it this way. You can see that this root on this clump of plant is all the way up here, going down into here. Now this plant, and you can also see that it's drooping down this way. This plant actually could climb up a structure, and so we are actually going to add this piece of birch into this container. So I actually want to do that before I plant her. So I'm gonna put it in the back of the plant since the root ball is already established. Just gonna put it right back there like this. Pack it down. Make sure that it's not going to go anywhere. And then we're going to put the plant in. The idea that it's going to start climbing. So I want to encourage the climbing habit. This one will right itself if I tack it up. This one is falling away. It's fine. So we'll get her settled in, and then we'll adjust accordingly. Too much soil underneath, so pulling some soil out. Okay, that's better. I do want to make sure that there's a lip here, plenty of water to go. And I'll just have a little bit more soil right on top. dip right there, so right in front. Perfect. Okay. All right, so then I have these clips. They're tomato clips, but obviously you could use them for anything. You could use a piece of twine, you could use a pipe cleaner, whatever's handy for you. But what I'm gonna do is I want this arm that's trying to grow down, I want it to grow up. So I'm gonna just take this elbow, hopefully you could see, take this elbow, I'm gonna take my clip and put it around and just hook it. Just does that. It's nice and gentle. It's not gonna bite into the plant. Okay. And then if I put it where, like if I put the window on this side of the pot, eventually this piece here is gonna start stretching towards the light. And then I can pin it up here. And then the next time we transplant it, we'll get a taller stake. And as more things try to grow, we can continue encouraging it to climb. See what's going on here. This should be okay. All right, I think that's pretty good. And then I'm just gonna water it in, and that will be it. I could decorate this a little bit and add a little, moss on top and in the crook here. Okay, so see, I have just a little bit of moss here, and ideally, really, it should be a little bit moist. Just use a little water, moisten it up a little bit, and then I can just sort of tuck it in there like this, mold it on there. Just make it look a little more organic and purposeful, I guess. And do the same thing with this piece, moisten it. Put this on the top. Just like mold it on there, and it'll pretty much stay. And that will give the plant a little something to stick her roots in, her aerial roots, if she so chooses. Other stuff going on. No. And if you felt like it wasn't going to stay on there, you could also put a touch of hot glue or something like that to help it. But that's it, and let's water her in. Beautiful. Let's see what she looks like from the side for myself. Oh yeah. I can gently do that maybe. It's flexible enough that I might be able to just go ahead and grab another tie. Just go ahead and do that. These have broken, so I can just pop them off like so. There we go. That looks great. There's a couple other little broken ones that I'm just gonna clean up in here. This one is broken. Okay. There was one that I saw that looked like it might be burnt, and there's some yellowing on this one. I'm just gonna see what they do with some new nutrition and, you know, a better watering schedule, and then I think it'll be fine. So yeah, it's a little bit of transplanting and a little bit of plant craft, so I hope you enjoyed that and you could see how simple it is to dress up your house plants and just make them, you know, a little bit happier. The next time I water her, I will use some indoor houseplant food. I just use this, and I use it maybe like once a month on my houseplants. I kind of stop fertilizing them October-ish through the month of January, but by the time I water them again, it'll be the first week of February, and we'll begin fertilizing them as the growing season begins for us. And the sun is, you know, brighter, and it's time, that's our spring is ramping up then, and it's the same for the house. So yeah, that's all I'm gonna do is give her some fertilizer next time we water. But for right now, the organic potting soil that we just put her in has a little bit of nutrition, and that's good enough. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this and you were inspired, and we will see you in the next video. Thanks again so much for watching. Have a great day. Bye.